Zaza is taking the What Do You Do challenge right now. It's a very difficult challenge. Zaza, what does your company do?
Well, you know, when you read the newspaper and you see a news article about something that is actually like really valuable for you and your company, and you want to reach out, well, that's what we do, but then on a bigger scale.
I kind of like, I'll tell you what I like about that. I like that you related it to something that I already knew, like a newspaper. One of the best ways to explain something is to start with something that already is familiar to the person that you're explaining it to. But let me give you another idea.
Yeah.
We could talk about this. I think this will be a really helpful exercise for you. What you do doesn't matter unless the person that you're talking to can relate to the problem that you solve. So let me give you an example. Let's say I sell a product called Unshrink It. It's a liquid. And what it does is if you accidentally put your wool sweater in the dryer and it shrinks and you pour this liquid on it, it just brings it back to its normal size. So if you were to ask me, Josh, what do you do? Instead of launching into telling you about Unshrink It, it's a bottle, it's liquid, I would say this. Hey, Zaza, have you ever had a wool or a cashmere sweater that you accidentally put in the dryer and shrunk it? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, yeah.
So now that I can see that you have this problem, now I can say, well, that's exactly the type of thing that we help with so that you don't waste your $300. So you always start with a question. You always try to learn.
You wait for them to get on the boat with you as well.
Yeah, so we wait for them to get on the boat with you so that what you're saying is relevant. Because if you said, I don't have any sweaters, I never wear sweaters, I hate sweaters, I don't have any wool sweaters, I'm allergic, then it doesn't really matter what Unshrink It does because it's not relevant. So I want to go through this exercise again, where instead of you telling me what you do, I want you to ask me a couple questions so that you can see if I can relate to the problem that you solve. Let's think about what you do, but in the context of a potential problem that you could learn about. Maybe you ask me a couple questions, maybe about my organization or about my team. And then maybe you say, hey, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever bumped into this? And let's see how you do on that. So I'm going to try it again. So Zaza, what do you do?
Well, how does, let me think. So would you, can I ask you a question? Would you immediately then start asking questions?
Yeah.
If you ask me a question, doesn't it feel like awkward for me to not answer your question, but answer one back?
It's a great question. So here's how we could do that. I love that insight. Hey, happy to answer the question, but would it be okay if I asked you a couple questions first so that I could tell you what I do in the most relevant way?
Yeah. So you explain your answer. Yeah.
So Zaza, what do you do?
Nice, Josh. Thanks for asking. So do you mind if I ask you first a few questions so I know how to answer in the most relevant way?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Great. Okay, so you have a sales organization. How do you find how do you find how is your how is your sales account organized?
Yeah, so we will have a person that's identifying which accounts to prospect, and we'll give those accounts to our team to try to prospect.
Okay, great. So and then your team follows them up, of course.
Yep.
Okay. So have you ever seen that your team spends the team who follows up those accounts, that they actually spend a lot of time on cases that don't seem to be able to close?
Love it. So that's a gap, right? Because before is I have lots of conversations with people and they're not ready to close. My salespeople spend a tremendous amount of time following up and following up and following up. They waste a bunch of time and they're not focused on the accounts that are more likely to close. That's a great problem. So I'm going to say, yes, I have had that problem. And then we're going to transition into this. I hear that all the time. We worked with a company similar to yours that had that same problem. And what we did for them is this. We helped them identify accounts that were most likely to buy. One of the accounts was so ready to buy that they closed them in 30 or 45 days. Would you like to learn more about that?
Mm-hmm.
So after we go through the questions, you're going to use a magic statement, which is, you know what, I hear this all the time. You remind me of another sales director I was talking to that had this same issue. And after working with us for a little bit, we were able to help them find accounts that were most likely to close within 35 to 45 days.
Yeah, so short sales cycle.
Yeah. Would you like to learn more? Hey, Zaza, what do you do?
Hey, Josh, nice to meet you. Thank you for asking. Can I ask you a few questions before I answer that? So I answer in the most relevant way.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So, well, you have a sales organization under you, right?
I do.
Okay. So, and how do how's your sales organization organized? Who finds leads? Who follows up on them?
So we have account executives and sales development reps, and the account executives typically supply the sales development reps with a list of key accounts. And then the sales development reps prospect and try to book meetings with those key accounts.
Ah, great. Yeah, perfect. So, can I ask you something? Have you ever had that your sales development reps spend a lot of time on accounts that just don't seem to close?
Yes, that happens quite frequently. We get on meetings with people, they don't close, and our salespeople waste a lot of time following up and chasing, and they're just not ready to buy right now, which happens quite a bit actually. Most of our deals, I think this is a stat nationally, even end in no decision.
Ah, wow, really? Yeah. Well, actually, you're not the only one. We recently actually helped another sales director that was a similar industry, and we helped them actually significantly improve their sales cycle and the amount of deals closed by just focusing on actually the right accounts at the right time. So, can I tell you more about this at a later time?
That is awesome. Really, really, I think so much better than when we started.
I know. But can I just quickly say something as well? I think it's amazing that you pushed me through this. And actually, one of my people in my sales organization, she's always saying like, just think about the problem that the prospect is experiencing. But it's so like difficult to do this. So I'm so happy that you actually like made me do it. Yeah, well, this is value based, and the other thing is feature based. So it's like completely different game. And I think it's also just really nice to actually have a conversation about an issue instead of a tool.